What makes new Simply Summer's Eve Feminine Wash different? It's simple. Seriously, that's the answer. It's made with simple ingredients. Ingredients that help stop odor and help you maintain a naturally healthy pH, gently and effectively. Here's what Simply Summer's Eve ingredients do not include: harsh chemicals, dyes, alcohol, or parabens. And it comes in light, refreshing scents like mandarin blossom and coconut water. New Simply Summer's Eve Gentle Foaming Wash and Cleansing Cloths. Gentle by nature. Click the tile to learn more.
Hello, it's the weekend of Saturday, August 11th and Sunday, August 12th, 2017. You are listening to Inception Radio Network, voice of the fringe majority. This is Carol Carl, off the beaten path. But first, we'll star hop to Perseid's Meteor Radiant. Just a little bit more before the Perseid meteor shower is over for this year. Bruce McClure from earthsky.org brings us this. The peak of the annual Perseid meteor shower is happening this weekend. Maybe you've already seen a Perseid or two streaking across the summer sky. If not, try looking late tonight, August 12th, hopefully before moonrise. More meteors should be flying closer to dawn on August 13th, but at that point the moon's light will be interfering. Try to minimize the moon to optimize the Perseid meteor shower. All in all, this should be a decent night to watch for meteors. See if you can avoid those city lights. While out there peering into dark skies, try to look for the Perseid's radiant point. You don't need to find it, though, to enjoy the meteors, but it's fun to find, and in this case, it's relatively easy. First, look for that constellation Cassiopeia the Queen, the W, the M, depending on your point of view, which lords over the northeastern sky on August evenings. Then draw that imaginary line from the star Navi through the star Rukba, and there will be charts later at ufoheadlinenews.com to help you do this. Then triple the distance between the Navy Rookbok and locate the famous double cluster in the constellation Perseus. That double cluster nearly marks the radiant point of the Perseid meteor shower. The double cluster is more formally known as NGC 884, or Chi Persei, and NGC 869, H Persei. Although the double cluster can be seen with the unaided eye in a dark country sky, the double cluster's stars will burst into view if you use binoculars. That double cluster is thought to be over 7,000 light years away from us in the Perseus arm of the Milky Way galaxy. The Sun, unlike the double cluster, resides within the Orion arm. Therefore, when we view the double cluster, we're gazing through our local spiral arm at the next spiral arm outward from the galactic center. Wow. Once, as a joke, it says here, the American astronaut whose formal name was Virgil Ivan Gus Grissom, we know him as Gus Grissom, nicknamed the center star of this W or M-shaped constellation Navi, N-A-V-I. Navi is Grissom's middle name, Ivan, spelled backwards. Bottom line, tonight, as you watch the Perseid meteor shower, see if you can star hop from the constellation Cassiopeia to the double cluster, which nearly coincides with the radiant point of the Perseid shower. That's some star-hopping choreography. Give it a try. Here's a tip from an old dancer. Don't look at your feet. Here's a tasty little article from techandscience.com with a byline for Callum Patton. It's eclipse-related. Here's the headline. Total solar eclipse. New Mexico Chaco Canyon rock art shows ancient eclipse. It turns out that nearly 1,000 years ago, our ancestors were just as keen to share news about a solar eclipse, but in the absence of smartphones or computers, they used more primitive means to depict the stunning solar event, rock art. Researchers believe they've discovered a rock carving in New Mexico's Chaco Canyon that represents a total eclipse that occurred more than 900 years ago. The engraving, known as a petroglyph, shows a circle with curved, intricate, swirling emissions issuing from it. Around the circle, believed to depict the sun, human figures can be seen in different positions and engaged in different activities. University of Colorado at Boulder professor J. McKim Malville has said the circle shown in the rock art represents the sun's outer atmosphere, known as its corona, with the tangled, looped protrusions on its edges dating it to a total eclipse that occurred in the region July 11th, 1097. Melville made that observation Wednesday to mark the upcoming total solar eclipse August 21st. That's going to be visible across a large swath of the United States. He said, quote, "To me, it looks like a circular feature with curved tangles and structures," end quotes, Melville said. He continued, quote, "If one looks at a drawing by a German astronomer of the 1860 total solar eclipse during high solar activity, rays and loops similar to those depicted in the Chaco petroglyph are visible," end quotes. Melville, who's attached to Boulder's Astrophysical and Planetary Sciences Department, and Jose Vaquero of the University of Extremadura in Cáceres, Spain, were able to date the carving on the basis of these loops that they believed to be coronal mass ejections, CMEs. These CMEs are eruptions that can blow billions of tons of plasma from the sun at several million miles per hour during active solar periods. Here's another quote from the study. "It turns out the sun was, quote, in a period of very high solar activity at that time, consistent with an active corona and CMEs," end quotes. This paper is published in the Journal of Mediterranean Archaeology and Archaeometry. The two in this study used several sources to assess the activity of the sun around the time of that 1097 eclipse. The data they gathered included information, ancient tree rings from which they could detect the activity of cosmic rays, etc. They also used records of naked eye observations of sunspots, which go back several thousand years in China. A third method involved looking at historical data compiled by Northern Europeans on the annual number of so-called auroral nights. That's when the northern lights were visible. That's an indication of intense solar activity. The freestanding rock hosting the possible eclipse petroglyph, it's known as Piedra del Sol, Rock of the Sun. It also has a large spiral petroglyph on its east side that marks sunrise 15 to 17 days before the June solstice. A triangular shadow cast by a large rock on the horizon crosses the center of the spiral at that time. It may have been used to start a countdown to the summer solstice and related festivities. This rock carving was first discovered in 1992 by Professor Melville and then Fort Lewis professor James Judge. It was carved by early Pueblo people. Chaco Canyon, a center of Pueblo culture in the Southwest 1,000 years ago, is believed by archaeologists to have been populated by several thousand people and held political sway over an area twice the size of the state of Ohio. We just can't leave Jim Mars. Here's a headline: "Colleagues offer tribute to one-of-a-kind North Texas author." This is from WFAA.com. It's written by Kevin Reese. He writes it in the first person. "When I met Jim Mars for the first time, he agreed to talk about one of his favorite subjects. Quote, 'Yeah, I think it happened,' end quotes, he said, on the 120th anniversary of the alien incident of 1897 in the North Texas town of Aurora. It's the infamous tale of an alien spaceship that allegedly crashed in the town of Aurora, north of Fort Worth, and whose occupant was given, quote, 'good Christian burial,' end quotes, in the town cemetery. Decades later, Jim Mars and a colleague took a metal detector to that grave and found readings for possible metal fragments. By the next day, the readings had disappeared. Mars said with a laugh, quote, 'He said, I think it was the government. And I said, I think you're right,' end quotes. Said former Fort Worth Star-Telegram colleague Donna Darovich, quote, 'The personification of a good Texas man, honest as the day is long.' If you looked up character in the dictionary, it would say Jim Mars. He was the personification of a character," end quotes. Mars was a longtime reporter for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. He was also the author of a dozen books, including Alien Agenda, and that book, Crossfire, The Plot That Killed Kennedy. The conspiracy narrative became much of the motivation for the Hollywood movie by Oliver Stone. Quote, "Jim was one of the first people to find his niche and stick to it, and found a great audience," end quotes, said Fort Worth Star-Telegram columnist Bud Kennedy. Kennedy continues, quote, "What I admire about Jim is that I don't really believe everything he wrote, but I believe he knew how to sell books," end quotes. Jim Marrs died of a heart attack last week at the age of 73. Tributes poured in over social media over the weekend from across the world. Said Linda Moulton Howe, quote, "I can't think of him as not being vibrant and alive somewhere in the cosmos," end quotes. Linda and Jim became friends at various multiple conferences across the country. She admired him for his dogged determination to get government officials to answer long-standing questions and conspiracies. Jim Marrs' books have helped open up minds to facts that were contradictory to United States policies of denial. His work, I think, will live on and on, because that is all that Jim Marrs wanted to do, to find out the truth and report it in the face of political agendas, policies of denials and lies, end quotes. Here's a quote from Jim Marrs. "I believe in a God, but I know there are UFOs." Colleague Donna Darovich said, quote, "A wild and wacky guy, but a really sweet, good old Texas boy," end quotes. And says this writer, "A good old Texas boy, journalist, and author whose influence and whose countless questions live on." To that we say, boy, howdy. And to the next story we say, wow. Here's the headline. "Meet the new heavyweight champion of dinosaurs, Patagotitan." Well, we hope that's how it's pronounced. Seth Bornstein for the Associated Press brings us this article. "A study proclaims a newly named species the heavyweight champion of all dinosaurs, making the scary Tyrannosaurus rex look like a munchkin." Well, last weekend we talked about its munchkin legs, how it couldn't run even if it wanted to. Those little leg bones would snap. But fast forward to now. Well, ancient fossil now, at 76 tons, 69 metric tons. The plant-eating behemoth was as heavy as a space shuttle. The dinosaur's fossils were found in southern Argentina back in 2012. Researchers who examined and dated them said the long-necked creature was the biggest of a group of large dinosaurs called titanosaurs. Quote, "There was one small part of the family that went crazy on size," end quotes. That's from Diego Pal of the Egidio Ferulio Paleontology Museum in Argentina. He's co-author of the study published Tuesday in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society B. The researchers named the dinosaur Patagotitan maiorum, after the Patagonian region where it was found, and the Greek word titan, which means large. That second name honors a ranch family that hosted the researchers. That would be the maiorum. 6 fossils of the species were studied and dated to about 100 million years ago, based on ash found around them, said Paul. The dinosaur averaged 122 feet long, 37 meters, and was nearly 20 feet high, 6 meters, at the shoulder. A cast of the dinosaur skeleton is already on display at the American Museum of Natural History. It's so big that the dinosaur's head sticks out into a hallway at that New York museum. Legendary T-Rex and other meat-eaters, quote, "look like dwarfs when you put them against one of these giant titanosaurs," end quote, said Paul. He continued, quote, "It's like when you put an elephant by a lion," end quotes. Scientists have known titanosaurs for a while, but this is a new species, even a new genus, which is a larger grouping. Another titanosaur called Argentinosaurus was previously thought to be the largest. Said Paul, quote, "I don't think they were scary at all. They were probably massive, big, slow-moving animals. Getting up, walking around, trying to run, it's really challenging for large animals," end quotes, he said. The big question, how did these dinosaurs get so big, Paul said. And researchers are still studying that. But they say it probably has to do with an explosion of flowering plants at the time. Along with a forest, it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet for these dinosaurs, and they just got bigger. Here's a quote from University of Maryland paleontologist Thomas Holtz, who wasn't part of the study. A quote, "It's hard to argue that this isn't a big deal when it concerns the probably largest land animal ever discovered," end quotes. Christy Curry Rogers, a paleontologist at Macalester College, who also was not part of this study, praised the work as important. She said the fact that Patagotitan's bones show signs that they haven't completed their growth, quote, means that there are even bigger dinosaurs out there to discover, end quote. Yep, big. We'll keep our shovels at the ready and keep you posted on what else they can dig up. So here it goes. Late yesterday afternoon, this broadcaster's husband said, "Oh, have you seen this headline?" We hadn't. Said headline read, South Carolina warned.
What makes new Simply Summer's Eve Feminine Wash different? It's simple. Seriously, that's the answer. It's made with simple ingredients. Ingredients that help stop odor and help you maintain a naturally healthy pH, gently and effectively. Here's what Simply Summer's Eve ingredients do not include: harsh chemicals, dyes, alcohol, or parabens. And it comes in light, refreshing scents like mandarin blossom and coconut water. New Simply Summer's Eve Gentle Foaming Wash and Cleansing Cloths, gentle by nature. Click the tile to learn more.
Warns citizens of lizard man sightings during solar eclipse. Well, we recognized BGR.com as the source. We recognized the name of journalist Mike Weiner. We didn't recognize the content, but we did see that the South Carolina Emergency Management Division was involved in this, and so we found their website. We gave them a call. It went something like this. Hello, I have an interesting request for some information. It's rather a long story. And the woman at the other end said, "Yes, how can I help you?" And we said, "Well," and we began to read the words, South Carolina warns citizens of lizard. We couldn't get the word lizard man out before we were met with wonderful, hearty, merry laughter from this individual. She was already quite well familiar with what this has generated by way of buzz. And I asked her if she could give me a quote to use for the UFO headline news off the beaten path. She laughed again and deferred me to their PIO, the Public Information Officer. So we held. And then we were online with Derek Becker. Yep, he is the PIO of the South Carolina Emergency Management Division. Wonderful guy, charming. He laughed. He clued me in on the thought process behind leading this story, the lizard man warnings during the solar eclipse. It seems they were sitting around trying to figure how to deal with the massive numbers that will be coming to the area. Yes, Derek Becker confirmed that this area of South Carolina is the last stop for totality in the solar eclipse. They're expecting definite huge numbers in their area. They wanted everybody, locals included, to have some sort of plan, a kind of family meeting type plan. And in fact, he said he did receive a call from a local woman who said she certainly wasn't afraid of lizard men, but she had used this article to get her family engaged. So they sat down, had a family meeting, and they have a plan. And then he mentioned something about Greenville, North Carolina, and the Bigfoot sightings. Well, it's all wrapped up. We found a kind of comprehensive story that puts it together. It goes something like this. Headline, Agencies advise of possible lizard man and Bigfoot sightings in South Carolina during eclipse. Brooke Bunson got a byline here for the Post and Courier. She begins, amid the solar eclipse's hype, which will bring millions of visitors to dozens of events happening across the state this month, here's one thing you probably haven't prepared for, a supernatural encounter. Luckily, several government agencies have been ahead of the game, already highlighting on social media the possibility of paranormal activity as the sky goes dark mid-afternoon, August 21st. And with the Carolinas' history of lizard man and Bigfoot sightings, residents should be aware of the possibilities. At least the South Carolina Emergency Management Division thinks so. The agency tweeted a graphic on Wednesday, quote, regarding possible paranormal activity, end quotes, occurring during the solar eclipse. The agency explains, quote, the SCEMD does not know if lizard man becomes more active during a solar eclipse, but we advise that residents of Lee and Sumter counties should remain ever vigilant, end quotes. The lizard man, first spotted in 1988 by Christopher Davis, a then 17-year-old Lee County resident. That's according to previous articles in the Post and Courier. Davis was driving around 2 a.m. one summer morning when he got a flat tire near Scape Ore Swamp. After he finished changing that tire, he claims that a red-eyed devil appeared about 30 yards away. Davis was able to get into his car and drive away as the alleged creature jumped on the roof. He threw the thing off, but said it was able to keep up with his car at speeds of up to 40 miles per hour. Davis' story gathered international attention, and reported lizard man sightings continued up to as recently as 2015, according to a story by The State newspaper. Even 2 police officers said they were convinced that, quote, something is out there, end quotes, after having an alleged encounter about a month after Davis's experience. NASA may not be fully in the loop on South Carolina's lizard man. Note, Derek Becker said to us that the NASA involvement, it's a NASA map they're using, and that's about it. But the Scientific Visualization Center did publish Sun Squatch. That's a graphic showing exactly where one could potentially see the eclipse and Bigfoot at the same time. With several overlaps occurring upstate, it's no surprise that the Greenville Police Department, right over the border, warned, quote, if you see Bigfoot, please do not shoot, end quotes. That's a Facebook post Wednesday night that linked to a 2015 video of an alleged Bigfoot running through the field of a nearby town. Here is the Greenville Police Department Facebook post from Tuesday. After watching this video from nearby Boone, North Carolina, Facebook followers and friends, I think we can say with some confidence that proof of Bigfoot still eludes us. If you see Bigfoot, please do not shoot at him, her, as you'll most likely be wounding a fun-loving, well-intentioned person sweating in a gorilla costume, end quotes. So what's the conclusion from all of this? It appears none of these creatures has ever caused physical harm to a person, so don't fear venturing outdoors during the eclipse. Brooke Brunson, who writes this, adds, though you should follow safety tips, lizard man or no lizard man. And she ends, so our advice is simply, as the SCEMD puts it, if you see something, say something. We're going to swing across the country now to the city of Baker, California. Here's the headline. Alien Fresh Jerky's UFO Hotel moves ahead with building plans. Yep, this goes back a few years. Here's the follow-up. And this is from a website we're not familiar with. It's benzinga.com. That's spelled benzinga.com. There isn't a byline, but here's the story. Power up those warp drives and get ready. After months of revisions and updates, the plans for Alien Fresh Jerky's fully immersive UFO hotel, designed by Luis Ramayo, were approved August 7th, 2017, by the San Bernardino County Building Department. They even have the permit number here. The attraction is expected to bring new life and much-needed tourists to the struggling economy of Baker, California. The increased tax revenue base will bring money to the county as well as the community for critical services such as fire and rescue, police, and highway patrol. The project will also provide a major source of jobs for the Baker community. The fully immersive UFO spaceship experience? It goes something like this. For families stopping by, the UFO hotel will feature a fully immersive experience called the UFO Tour, where guests will have the chance to peek inside the inner workings of a UFO spaceship. The tour includes access to the warp engine, a view into the immense cargo bay where the crew store their materials, as well as their findings from Earth and other planets. Also, an interactive teleportation gate. More details, of course, will be on the way as this develops. If you want to sleep inside a UFO, no problem. The rooms inside the UFO hotel will be fully decked out. Each room is a unique, one-of-a-kind experience, unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. Visitors will even get a chance to sleep in the alien crew's quarters, if they wish. Apart from the rooms that the alien crew inhabit on a day-to-day basis for proper operation of the UFO itself, there are plenty of rooms with other specific functions, such as the cargo room, The Armory Room, that's Ramayo's personal favorite, by the way. The Hydroponics Room, where all organic and plant life specimens are kept for the crew's findings, and many more. A series of support buildings will be erected, structures from the future, some of which have already been completed as part of the overall project. Since May of 2015, a monumental space robot-themed sign has been finished, and construction has been underway on the new Alien Warehouse, the Time Travel Station, and the Alien Fresh Jerky Space Rover. The buildings are expected to be completed by December of 2017. And they'd like to take this opportunity in the article to thank everybody involved. It's a long list. We won't go there. You can find all those players later at ufoheadlinenews.com, should you be so inclined. And there's even a website for the hotel itself. That will be there too, by link. The project's moving ahead full speed, and they're looking forward to opening in the very near future. What a stop on one's UFO road trip. But speaking of trip, we've got a trip on out of here because that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Inception Radio Network, Off the Beaten Path. Follow today's broadcast at ufoheadlinenews.com, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We're all in this together. This is Carol Carl. See you tomorrow.
What makes new Simply Summer's Eve Feminine Wash different? It's simple. Seriously, that's the answer. It's made with simple ingredients. Ingredients that help stop odor and help you maintain a naturally healthy pH, gently and effectively. Here's what Simply Summer's Eve ingredients do not include: harsh chemicals, dyes, alcohol, or parabens. And it comes in light, refreshing scents like mandarin blossom and coconut water. New Simply Summer's Eve Gentle Foaming Wash and Cleansing Cloths, gentle by nature. Click the tile to learn more.